Alright, it's Kirby, and there he goes. He's getting away from us. Oh no, there he is. Kirby's Star Stacker for the original Game Boy. The emulator had some options to display this one in full colors, but I don't think Mednafen supports that. Mednafen's very accurate in terms of actually emulating the game, but in terms of features, it's a little lacking. But that's beside the point. We just came here to play Kirby Star Stacker. And this is pretty much it, quite honestly. It's really going to be a testament to my commentary skills, because I'm going to have to fill all this time when I've got basically nothing to work with in terms of things on screen to comment on. Wow, it took me like 40 seconds basically to say a single simple sentence. So the concept here is pretty simple. You just gotta match up the blocks. And what else do you need to know? You got a little clock man in the corner there. And then he turns into a fist. The monkey's fist! The monkey! You know what that's from? The impression was so shitty that you probably don't recognize it. Anyway, so yeah, the clock man, I was just thinking he reminds me of a Time Wizard, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster thing from back in the day. This is from the first generation of characters, so to speak, so slightly more recognizable from the later ones. I don't even know if there were later ones, quite honestly. Anywho, so I like how there's a fist slamming down whenever the blocks get pushed up. Just a nice aesthetic, and not everything in this game has to be warm and fuzzy. Sometimes you just need a big angry fist to really motivate you, I guess. So this particular mode has a time limit where you just want to get as many combos as you can within 3 minutes. I don't think it's possible to change the time limit unless it's with the difficulty setting. Just a passing thought that I had. I saw a video the other day. It was a behind-the-scenes look at Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's very odd to look at that before all the cartoons were added in, because they made up such a large chunk of the movie that without the cartoons, there's basically nothing. And what's the name? The guy who played Mario in the Mario movie, Bob Hoskins, and he's basically just pretending there's a whole bunch of props there, and you really have to be a good actor to do that. So he'd just be holding nothing, but it would be in the shape of a wheel, because they were going to add in a wheel later, and not easy to do. Apparently that screwed with his mind after doing that for so long, and having to work with things that weren't even there. He probably turned out alright. I mean, or maybe he didn't, I don't know. I guess I'm not up to date on all my Bob Hoskins trivia. The only other thing I really know about him was that he was in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Not to be confused with Lou Albano, who was in the Super Mario Bros. Show. Kinda like that one better, but that one's played up more for laughs. Okay, I got a 78. Is that good? I don't know. Let's try another mode. Challenge mode? Yeah, there we go. Okay. Gotta get rid of the 2 center columns. Ooh, we gotta be careful here. See, on the right there, it's already all the way to the top, so you can't really miss any turns, so to speak. I did okay with it, though. There really wasn't a great place for that one. Let's see. Most of these enemies were, not enemies, but characters in the blocks. They were like character assists, I guess you could call them, in Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the SNES. So, they never really used many of these anymore. Couldn't tell you what their names were either. It's been a while since I've actually played Dreamland 3. It's interesting to see how the Kirby series evolved, because, it's kind of branched off into different ways of doing things, I suppose you could say. Because, Kirby 64 definitely took more inspiration from Dreamland 3, while on the other hand, Kirby Superstar just kinda, I guess it was more inspired by the NES game than anything else. So yeah. I'm not sure which ones came before which, so I don't know how accurate that is. but I do know that Kirby 64 was the latest one in the list of games that I'm naming, and so Kirby 64 could have potentially taken inspiration from Superstar instead of Dreamland 3, and would have been interesting to see how that would have turned out, because Superstar generally had higher energy. Alright, tried to trigger that bomb, but it didn't go off. Guess you gotta be horizontal. Fish. What are these characters' names? I already mentioned that I don't know them, but do you, as the audience? I guess you could look them up. There's Fishman, and there's Noctowl from Pokemon. There's Hamtaro. There's Starfy, and Bomb. What's a good nickname for the Bomb Block? He's not even on screen anymore, so that wouldn't be a good example. Listen to me, I'm just rambling like an old man. This isn't interesting to listen to. It's probably not all that interesting to watch either. Which raises the question of why I'm doing this to begin with. I guess I just liked the game and thought it would be, a nice change of pace from the usual platformers and stuff. And perhaps I was wrong. I want to play all the games out there, but then at the same time, not all the games always provide for insightful commentary. That's where I gotta fill the gap. We're getting a little close to the screen. Well, maybe not. Looks like I saved it for today. So what have I been up to lately? That always provides for interesting commentary, I guess. I went to the gym earlier. That's something. Probably not all that exciting for you, though. Don't want to hear about my workout routines. Yeah, fuck me. I've pretty much exhausted all the things that there are to say, but I gotta keep filling the space. Or do I? The Golden Girls. That's something I could talk about that just popped up into my head for some reason. Or how about something slightly more interesting? I've got a slightly new recording setup. Because if you've noticed, the audio's been better between the previous episode and this one. So what I did, it's just on a different computer with a better mic. Is all I did, really. So the old computer that I use is actually technically newer than the one that I'm on right now. But this old computer has a better mic on it. So it's better for recording purposes, so I can... But again, the newer one has more CPU, so it's better for recording games and all that. So I'll record it on the new one... Or wait, no. I'll record the gameplay on the new one, and then record the audio on this one, and... Oh, I got 100. Alright, that's probably a good place to stop. You get the gist? Alright, what modes do we have left? Round clear. Let's try that. There's DDD... DDD. Did you ever see the Kirby anime? I mean, I knew about it when it was going on, but I never really sat down and watched it. Because it was at a weird time slot. It's like 9 a.m. and that was in the old days of TV where if you missed the show, past its designated time slot, there was no way to look it up online or what have you. Because the internet was terrible back then. Even if they did try to, have the episode hosted online back then, that probably would have been in like 144p and it still would have had to buffer every 5 seconds. Just wouldn't have worked. I guess it's kind of a misconception to think that computers themselves weren't advanced enough to host videos online back then, but it was more the network infrastructure that had problems rather than the hardware. I saw a video, it was 101 Facts About Mr. Weeble, and they mentioned how his videos had to be more simple because, as they put it, computers couldn't handle as much back then. And I think they should kind of reword that, again, to be more about how, websites couldn't handle as much, because the year they mentioned for when Mr. Weeble started doing stuff was like 2002 or 3, and that same year there was the Gorillaz music video for Rock the House, which was done with CG and stuff, and so that would have all been done with computers. So computers were clearly very capable of much more at the time. It's just that they didn't have a good place to host them, and connection speeds weren't as good. Somebody should redo that video. They could call it 101 Facts About Mr. Weeble, except Fact 57, or whichever it was, is corrected. I haven't actually seen any Mr. Weeble videos in a while. And he did that thing for Christmas 2015 where he was making a new video every single day, and that was kinda interesting, I guess. I can't talk today. He's just kind of a relic of old YouTube, and it's kinda hard for him to stay relevant, I guess. All of his big hits are behind him. We're never gonna have another Mr. Weeble video that achieves the level of success as Badger, 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 or Look at My Horse, or there's another famous one. There's the Narwhals, and Fat Labrador was mildly successful, but not really all the way. I feel like I'm missing a big one. Probably. Anyway, so Mr. Weeble's also tried to do things that aren't songs. He's tried to do, like, original cartoons occasionally, and those typically aren't as good, quite honestly. But that's just my opinion. I mean, when you establish that your channel's gonna have one thing, and then you try to do something other than that thing, people aren't gonna enjoy it, even if the new thing is good. I mean, if you were to go to a stand-up comedy show and they had music instead of comedy, or vice versa, I think you'd get rather upset by that. There was actually some comedian who did a bit on that exact topic once, and it's kind of where I got the idea, but I can't quite remember what it was. Alright, so that was Kirby's... I almost said Kirby's Block Ball, but that's a different game. That was Kirby's Star Stacker. I managed to fill the 12 minutes. I didn't think I could do